Dixie here. We have a bunch of books to go through from my most recent book haul. I went to a charity book sale that I go to every year, and I actually went on the days where things were full price so as to not let me buy as many books or to maybe hinder that. Because like I've said in a previous video, I have 84 books on my TBR already. And I'm not one to keep a bunch of books around. So I tried to keep it to a minimum this year, which I guess meant I bought 13 books. Now this year I did go to the book sale with a list, and I tried to find mostly just books from those authors, which didn't really work out. I don't know if the selection wasn't as good. I was there one of the first days of the sale, so I'm guessing that's what it was. It was difficult to look at the fiction section of the sale because of how they had it laid out. It was very like serpentine, and it was so full of people that my claustrophobia would not let me get way into the fray. So I kind of went the perimeter, took a little break, let a few people leave, and I went back. I'm sure there's a lot that I missed, but I still found 13 books, so I'm really happy, and I got to support a charity that I really believe in. With my list in mind, I was trying to find books that were more challenging, like more literary fiction than anything else. I actually even typed up my list, and what I did was I picked out authors that I read back in like 2002 to like 2012 maybe, which is kind of when I came into reading. I'm 40 years old, so do the math. So authors I had on that list were, a lot of them I didn't find. So like Martin Amis was one. Donald Barthelme, I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. I love his short stories. Charles Bukowski. And I did find Don DeLillo, which was on my list. However, the type was really, really small on the books. So I actually did not purchase those. I was also going to look for Mark Lehner, which I have a couple of his books already, but I couldn't find any there, as well as like Chuck Palahniuk and Zadie Smith. I wanted to get a few of her books to reread. I did end up finding one that I hadn't read yet. I'll show you in a second. And I was going to look for Donna Tartt's Secret History, which I've never read. I only have read the majority of the Goldfinch. I didn't like it. So I do want to give her another chance. I think Secret History would be a good place for me to do that. So I also was going to look for Kurt Vonnegut. I didn't see any Vonnegut there either. So it was just kind of a peculiar day. I was thinking a lot about if I read harder books, maybe I will retrain my focus and my attention span. I recently saw two videos which I thought were very interesting. The first of which was by Randy Ray, who goes by the Literate Texan on YouTube. And he's an older gentleman. He reads a ton of books, and he wanted to discuss, his literal video title was Why You Can't Focus on Reading Anymore. And I thought that was very interesting, and he kind of chalked it up to, the way that we make our phones so addictive and just, the modern world just stealing our focus. And then I came across a video from Steve Donaghue. I'll link both of these videos below because I think they're really important. And I believe they're friends, and he basically did a counterpoint to that, calling us lazy slugs, those of us who live on our phones. And honestly, I kind of appreciated the kind of crotchety boomer old man take on that. So yeah, I was really thinking about my attention span and trying to, read harder books, not to read fluff all the time or just thrillers that page turn. I'm really interested in going back to my roots in literary fiction. So all that being said, I will go through these books quickly. Some of them I don't know anything about, so we'll see. If there's any of these books that you'd like me to review, please let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate it. Or if you just want to say hi. I am fairly new here, and I really appreciate anybody who A, takes the time to watch my videos, and B, gives me a like or a comment or anything like that. I did join BookTube to have more of a community around reading. So without further ado, so first on the pile is Mark Haddon, A Spot of Bother. I really enjoyed this author's The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. I'm not sure if you remember that book. But I recently reread that book, and it was still very good, but I did knock it down probably a star or two. So I thought, well, why not give this one a shot? This was not on my list, so I'm really excited to see what this is about. A tiny little blurb on the back. It says, at 61, George Hall is settling down to a comfortable retirement when his tempestuous daughter, Katie, announces that she is getting married to the deeply inappropriate Ray. The Hall family is thrown into a tizzy. Unnoticed in the uproar, George discovers a sinister lesion on his hip and quietly begins to lose his mind. As parents and children fall apart and come together, Haddon paints a disturbing yet amusing portrait of a dignified man trying to go insane politely. As someone who has medical anxiety, we'll see how this goes. It'll either be really relatable or very triggering, so stay tuned on that one. The next book on the stack is Michael Chabon. I never know how to say his name. Chabon. The Final Solution. I have read The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay by him back when it came out. And I haven't read any of his books since. I remember not loving that book, but this one looked interesting. And it's also super short. If you've been here for a while, you know, when I was doing my Goodreads goal, I wanted short books. And so I think my eye just is trained to look for them. Oh, this is another old man book. I do love old man books, so I'm not mad at that. Retired to the English countryside, an 89-year-old man rumored to be a once famous detective is now concerned with his more concerned with his beekeeping than with his fellow man. Into his life wanders Linus Steinman, 9 years old and mute, who has escaped from Nazi Germany, and his sole companion, an African gray parrot. No idea. No idea, guys. We'll have to see about this one. This would be a really good short book to do like a weekend readathon. So maybe I'll have to put that on the docket. Next book. Again, I just saw this and I hate to say it, I like the cover. I like the title, I like the cover. Oh, there you go. Mosquito Land by David Arnold. And this is a debut novel. I did notice that. So Mosquito Land. Yeah, it sounds like a little girl going on a journey on the Greyhound bus. I usually don't like books that are road trippy, but I do love stories about eccentric characters on buses. Very niche interest I have. Mosquito Land. And then this one, Turtle Catcher by Nicole Helget. Nicole Helget is a local Minnesota author. I'm from Minnesota. And I have read, I think, one or two of her other books that I actually really enjoyed. And she, I believed, received her degree and still teaches at Mankato State, which is in our state school system, and is an amazing writing program. Very, very good. So I'm so excited to see this book. It says, in the tumultuous days after World War I, Herman Richter returns from the front to find his only sister, Liesel, aligned with Lester Sutter, the slow son of a rival clan who spends his days expertly trapping lake turtles. Liesel has sought Lester's friendship in the wake of her parents' death and in the shadow of a dark secret of her own. But what begins as a yearning for something of a human touch quickly unwinds into a shocking, suspenseful tragedy that haunts New Germany, Minnesota for generations. The Turtle Catcher is a lyrical, vibrant, beautifully wrought look at a fascinating piece of American history and the echoing dangers of family secrets. Now, I haven't really discussed this on the channel much, but I do not like historical fiction pretty much at all. There are a few exceptions. I do think Water for Elephants was a brilliant book, and I also think The Help was a brilliant book. And, you know, there's a few others that I enjoy. But if it's written or takes place anywhere from before, like, the 80s, not really my thing. But like I said, I've read her before, and so this will be a really good, another chance for me to try and read some more historically based fiction. This book I've read before, the next one, Candy Girl by Diablo Cody. Diablo Cody also lived in Minnesota for a time, and this book chronicles her kind of secondary moonlighting career as a stripper at one of our strip joints here in Minnesota. She is best known for writing Juno, the movie. I read that, like I said, I read this, I don't remember when, like 2011 or 2012. And I did enjoy it. And I don't know what I did with my copy. So I did pick this back up. I will probably read it, probably redonate it, but just for kind of a fun, different read. I remember it being very interesting and detailed, an honest take of being a stripper. Just something different. Next, I'm not sure if I've already read this. Lucy by the Sea. I should have looked this up. Elizabeth Strout is one of my favorite authors that's writing today. She did kind of the Olive Kitteridge series as Grumpy Old Lady, and I love it. I think I might have... Yeah, so I think this book follows the same... It says, following the same indomitable heroine of My Name is Lucy Barton. So it's one of her characters. She kind of does this. She creates characters and then writes a few books centered around them. I didn't like Lucy Barton. I do remember that. I don't know why I picked this up. Other than I saw her name and I got excited. Probably the frenzy of my claustrophobia. Just reaching out to where I could and picking something I thought I'd like. Let's see. As a panicked world goes into lockdown, Lucy Barton is uprooted from her life in Manhattan and bundled away to a small town in Maine by her ex-husband and on-again, off-again friend, William. For the next several months, it's just Lucy, William, and their complex past together in a house nestled against the moody sea. So, I can say that I have never, ever read a, pandemic-y based book. So, I'm not sure, having lived through it, that I want to do that, but I am curious just because of it being written by Elizabeth Strout. What's also interesting is, inside this book, I don't know if you can see that, there's a ton of handwriting, and I'm someone who writes in books, so I always find this interesting. And it looks like maybe these are notes that somebody took for a book club, because it has different pages and themes mentioned. So yeah, I don't know. I'll give it a shot. It's not that long. And the next book is actually an author that I wanted to find, and I'm shocked that I didn't find more of his book, because in the 90s he was really popular, and a lot of books at this book sale are kind of older. So, Douglas Copeland, Girlfriend in a Coma, classic book. I believe 90s. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 80s. I remember reading this when I was, 98. Ooh, late 90s. So yeah, this came out kind of right before I got really into reading. And I do remember this book floating around my friends' houses. And I think I read part of it or all of it, but I don't remember it at all. Again, that was like 20 some years ago. So I did pick this up. It is literally about someone going into a coma. So, and not only that, but they're in a coma for 17 years. And it says Richard, so her boyfriend, and her circle of friends reside in an emotional purgatory throughout the next 2 decades, passing through careers as models, film special effects technicians, doctors, and demolition experts, before finally being reunited on a conspiracy-driven supernatural television series. And I guess she does wake up from the coma. And it says life grows as surreal as their television show, with apocalyptic events occurring. Karen, the one who is in the coma, her boyfriend Richard, and their friends explore the essential mysteries of life, faith, decency, and existence. Amid the world's rubble, they attempt to restore their own humanity. And People magazine did say that this was his strongest work to date. He did have several books that were quite popular. So I'm a little shocked that they said that about this one, because I remember reading, I think it was Generation X, one of his other books, and I liked it a lot better. So we'll see. Microsurfs, that's another one of his most popular books. The next one I found is a little bit more, I would say, on the fluffier side. It is Adriana Trigiani. I always say her name wrong. Home to Big Stone Gap, which I did read Big Stone Gap, and I liked it. I gave it like a 3.5 star. I didn't know there was another book about it. I did see the film, which is great. It has Ashley Judd, I want to say, is the main character. Very, very good. Cozy fun. Not cozy, but there's some tumultuous bits, but it's kind of wholesome. So I thought this would be kind of a fun read, especially like a winter read. It takes place in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia. And I think it takes place back in the day, but I'm not sure like how far. It doesn't say. like exactly when. I won't give away too much on this one. And then I picked up a classic, Willa Cather, My Antonia. I don't recall having read this. There are a few classics that I need to get to, and this was one of them. So I'm really excited. Honestly, I don't even know what it's about. It says, in this symphonically, what does that mean? And magnificently observed novel, Willa Cather created one of the most winning heroines in American fiction. A woman whose calm, undemonstrative strength and robust high spirits make her emblematic of the virtues Cather most admired in her country. Antonia Shimerda is the daughter of Bohemian immigrants struggling with the oceanic loneliness of life on the Nebraska prairie. Through the eyes of Jim Burton, her tutor and disappointed admirer, we follow Antonia from farm to town as she survives hardships, both natural and human, from hardscrabble poverty to a failed romance, and not only survives but triumphs. We're going to give it a shot. It's a beautiful book. Look at the floral detail on there is lovely. So we'll see about that. 3 to go. Dear Committee Members by Julie Schumacher. This is a fairly recent book, is it not? I believe. I've seen this around. Again, I don't know much about it. Oh, maybe it's not. It says 2014. Maybe I'm getting it mixed up with something. This book, they had a bunch of copies. Perhaps a book club donated. I'm not really sure. But it just sounded really interesting to me. It says, Jason Fittger is a beleaguered professor of creative writing and literature at Payne University, a small and not very distinguished liberal arts school in the Midwest. His once promising writing career is in the doldrums, as is his romantic life, in part the result of his unwise use of his private affairs for his novels. His life, a tale of woe, is revealed in a series of hilarious letters of recommendation that Fittger is endlessly called upon by his students and colleagues to produce, each one of which is a small masterpiece of high dudgeon, I don't know what that means, low spirits and passive-aggressive strategies. I love books that are, I think they call it epistle or epistolary. So it's written in letters. And the idea that it's written in letters of recommendation sounded very interesting to me. I've had to write a few of those myself, and it's hard. It's not easy. I mean, you really want to do a good job for someone. So it'll be interesting to see how these pan out. I do not like books about professors in general. I find them to be kind of uppity and boring. So again, we'll see. I'm taking a lot of risk here. All right, second to last here. Zadie Smith, Swing Time. Now, I've read Autograph Man and White Teeth, and that was back in my reading heyday, 2000, probably 7 or so, 8. I remember how much I love Zadie Smith because I called in sick to work to read. I could not stop, and I had to call in, or so I thought. So this is a novel I haven't read. Zadie Smith usually writes a hefty book. And this book is actually about, it says 2 brown girls dream of being dancers, but only one, Tracy, has talent. The other has ideas about rhythm and time, about black bodies and black music, what constitutes a tribe or makes a person truly free. It's a close but complicated childhood friendship that ends abruptly in their 20s, never to be revisited, but never quite forgotten either. Remember her writing being beautiful and challenging. And so that's what I'm looking for when I'm trying to heal my attention span. Hopefully it's not too much too soon. Maybe I'm going to have to work up to this, but I'm actually really excited about it. And then the other book that I don't have, I'll put a picture up maybe here, is Jonathan Franzen's Crossroads, which I read his book, The Corrections, back in the day and found it incredibly beautiful and poignant. In that book, he does have a character that has, I think Alzheimer's or dementia, and wrote from their perspective, and it was so beautifully tragic, I couldn't believe it. I did buy The Corrections recently. I was going to make a YouTube short maybe, or just a short video on that. I went on a journey to find it at thrift stores because I knew I could. I knew I could track it down. But Crossroads is actually, I think his most recent book, which was from 2021. And it was recommended by a few people that I follow online, and I started reading it, and I love it already. And it's not the type of writing that I usually gravitate towards. He writes pretty like grandiose and descriptive work. So it'll be interesting to see how long my attention span can handle that. But I'm really looking forward to that. And I couldn't believe I found it. I looked, they have it separated there by like trade back, soft cover, or hardcover is in the way back of the sale. And so I did make my way back there and I found it. No dust jacket, which is fine. I removed the dust jacket anyway. So that's probably the book I will read first out of this haul, and I will get back to you on that. It'll take me quite a while. It's super long. It's, I think, around 600 pages, I want to say. Other than that, thank you for joining me. Thank you if you're still here. I know this is long and a little scattered. I don't plan on doing a lot of book hauls, definitely not long ones like this in the future, because I am trying to read through the books that I have. So hopefully I can get these boys logged into my Teapot TBR and we can start knocking them out. But again, if there's any book that you're interested in my opinion of or are curious about, please let me know in the comments. I will definitely put it to the top of the list. I'm open to that. I am really excited about the community that I am very slowly creating here. I appreciate you. Have a good one. Keep reading. I'll see you next time.